Hey, and welcome to Let's Talk About Teams. Today with
Lars,
Michael,
and Peter.
And I'm Carsten. Today we're going to talk about IntelliFrame and what it is. And we are so lucky that we have Peter from Microsoft that can talk about the IntelliFrame, the way Microsoft are doing it. And we have Lars from PolyXP that can talk about how the manufacturer can do something similar on the hardware device itself. So let's start with Peter. What is IntelliFrame when Microsoft talk about IntelliFrame?
Yeah. Let me see. How can we put it in the right way? Well, we've all been in those meetings where we have the camera in the end of the room, and we have this long meeting table, and maybe you've seen people. And if you're remote, well, you cannot see the people in the room because you have 10 people in one picture. You cannot see faces, you cannot see movement, you cannot see anything. What we try to do with IntelliFrame, that is that we're actually going in, taking the full picture and identifying people in the room, cutting out the faces. This is about the faces, of course, to put it into front row, our new layouts, but actually getting focus on people in the room instead of the room as a whole. We build this to let's say to make a broad approach to it, so that you're not required to go and exchange all your existing cameras. But of course, it will have some limitations as it is using existing equipment that is not built specific for these purposes.
So you're getting one video stream up that you are working with that one.
Yes,
stream.
you take one picture where you cut out the different people. That is basically what it does. We just in the process of releasing multi-streams, but that's another technology. But the basic technology is we take the picture, the full picture, and cut out what we need to build a impersonation.
Okay.
And when that's said, then we have a manufacturer, and let's try to keep it overall. What can we do with a high-end camera instead of just the way Microsoft are doing? How can you as a manufacturer optimize that process so we get a better quality? Because it kind of makes sense that if you have a picture with this quality and you begin cutting in it, of course we scale down the quality for each person's face. So I think that is the biggest problem right now with IntelliFrame.
Yeah, we can say it like this: when you have, it really depends on how much data you have.
Yep.
So
exactly.
In Teams you can do like 1080p. That's kind of the limitation. You can't really extend that as of now, at least. But then that will simulate around 2 megapixels sensor. If you have a camera which have maybe a 20 megapixel sensor, then you have a lot more data to work with, which basically means that we can then go even further into a single person, do a, let's call it, passport photo of that person, and then create a really good image in high quality and then send it off to Microsoft. So that's basically the major difference, is that the manufacturer have much more data to work with.
Yeah, because
compared to Microsoft.
You have the big cameras with 20 megapixels. And so
when do you as a user select either IntelliFrames from Microsoft or the framing that is in the camera? How do you make that selection?
That selection is done based on if the camera are capable of doing.
Okay, so it's
yeah. So if you have a camera that can do the IntelliFrame directly on the camera, then it will not do it in the cloud. On the other hand, if you have a camera that is not capable of doing it on the camera, then you would be able to do it in the cloud.
Yeah.
So I think that I really like the benefit of we having the option of doing it. Then it's up to the customers how high quality they want to have.
Exactly. That's basically brings us back to the discussion we have had for quite some long time now about designing the room for the specific purpose of that room. What do you want to do in that room? And this is about what should you choose. Basically, I think that IntelliFrame was developed based on the demand of actually being more inclusive when you have these hybrid flexible. It works perfectly.
Awesome,
and even with these, let's say the low-end camera with the lowest resolution that is needed for actually being certified, even with those cameras, you will still get a better experience actually cutting out the people and being able to see the movement and the face expressions and things like that, instead of this full room picture where you basically
just an overview.
Exactly. It's like having a drone.
I love the video feeds where you have like a single person on each side of a really broad table.
Exactly.
And they're so tiny. Well, I normally say what we are trying to do is like drag the people closer, so we can see the facial expression and the reactions of what we're talking about. And as you said, it will always be a better experience no matter which part of the technology that you use, getting people closer. So I will say that's a huge benefit.
One can conclude that if you have legacy cameras where the sensor has a lower megapixels, then IntelliFrame from Microsoft are doing an awesome job because they're actually doing that what the camera can. But if you are designing or upgrading your existing room, make sure that the sensor that you're choosing has a high megapixels where you can do that.
One thing is the sensor, and I guess Lars can put more word in that. One thing is the sensor. Of course, we should have the data in the first place, but it does also require a lot of processing power.
Of course.
Because it is still one lens, so we need to have the processing power to actually cut out the different people from, let's say, from the initial video stream. That does take some processing power.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but it does require a pro license, right?
It does.
Yes, because you have to have that in mind, because customers that's just heard about IntelliFrame, they need to have a pro license before it will work.
That's correct.
One way of doing it is if Microsoft are doing something in the back end where it takes data power, pro license. That's normally the way when customers are talking about when it's doing what.
I know we should not discuss licenses, but my take on this is that we have one license for meeting rooms when we talk enterprises, and that is the Teams Room Pro.
I
agree.
And end of story.
Exactly.
As long as we talk enterprises.
And another thing, and that's really where I sometimes see people are getting confused about IntelliFrame. So when we talk about IntelliFrame, it's actually three things. So the manufacturer can do it on the camera, Microsoft will do it in the cloud, and then we have multi-stream, and that's kind of the umbrella term of IntelliFrame.
And we luckily see a lot of new technologies coming from the different camera vendors because we are still in the majority of the room. We see still one, maybe two cameras. But in the future, I guess we will see a lot of new combinations of cameras. We're slowly seeing the 360 degrees cameras coming in now. Where actually, if you are sitting around the table, you can have a camera in the center of the room, actually being able to pick whoever is talking. So we will see a lot of more, let's say, camera technology coming in and enriching this, let's say, in IntelliFrame world with different ways of getting the people in the room coming over and out to the people being remote and being more inclusive.
I think like sometimes I try to explain it as like we should stop thinking about where the camera is. Should I look at this camera or should I look at that camera, or should I basically just talk like a guy would normally do, and then the technology would pick me up from the best side.
Exactly.
Which would probably be from the back.
But again, it's now we talking. Normally we talk with IT personnel out in with the customers. Now we need to talk with facility as well, because managing, let's say, 3, 4, 5 cameras in a room, mounting these, the aesthetic in it and stuff like that.
The interior designer. We have all those.
And price-wise, I actually like the idea of having more lower resolution cameras than one high resolution camera, but it's not always the way it's gonna happen. But
I think it really depends on what are the needs for the room.
Exactly.
Going back to what is the purpose of the room?
Yes.
Because this is about having, let's say, even more than 5 cameras in the room. Of course, that is going to be expensive. That can be hard to get if you have some design guidelines. How should the room look like? But you probably not need that for all of your meeting rooms, because we still, and we have to admit that, we still have a lot of meetings where we are a few people in the room, and there are a few few people being remote. That does not require multiple. Then we can have a auto-framing camera that can pick whomever is talking in the room in a good resolution, and that will do it.
Exactly.
One camera with some, let's say, semi-advanced features.
Yeah.
So again, going back to what will this room be used for? It's going to be more and more important. Actually designing the room instead of just saying, hey, we have this square room and we got to put in 2 screens and an MTR.
But Tinder still look like that.
I know. But we should be history.
But I actually agree. We are seeing the people is moving towards going with other screen aspect ratios, so they will be able to benefit from the IntelliFrame or the people frame or whatever people is calling it. So I agree that there will be a push towards maybe more cameras or more automatically based cameras or the IntelliFrame itself, and front row is
bigger screens for front row.
And it's here to stay, right?
When Microsoft or the manufacturer can do more people tracking instead of manual have to switch between cameras and so on. So that automation process is definitely going to higher the effect of the meeting rooms from the far end. So we're really looking forward to that.
Exactly.
So I guess that was a little short talk about it in IntelliFrame, and as you can hear, there are a lot of approaches in it and why to do it and so on. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please follow Let's Talk About Teams for more videos